We know who those two players are. It's about the ranking and where they fit in, but they have to be top two.
3 orange caps. You were talking about Rohit Sharma and his 3 double hundreds.
I mean, I don't know. I just disagree with that. Hello, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of Silly Point. I hope you would have watched our previous episode where we ranked batsmen from number 15 to number 8. And this episode, we're going to look at the top 7 IPL batsmen. So really excited. Looking forward to seeing, whether Zahid and me have got similar players, have matched our lists. I don't think that we're going to have the same number one, but we'll come to it. Stay tuned to watch who's going to be ranked number one in our list. As always, please like, share, and subscribe. And I'm sure we would have missed out on a few batsmen that you think should deserve to be in the top 15. So please do let us know in the comments. Like always, I've got Zahid here. So Zahid, what do you think? Do you think we're going to come to a consensus early, or is there going to be a lot of tussle?
I think it will go right down to the wire. So stay tuned till the end. You already gave me a hint in the previous episode as to someone that you actually ranked pretty low in your list, which I will fight tooth and nail for. So let's get straight into it. And again, just as a reminder, the criteria is at least the batsman should have played 30 IPL games.
Yeah.
Before you start saying why don't we have Johnny Bairstow in the list, or why don't we have Sam Curran on the list?
Yeah.
So we have a bit of a criteria to make sure that some people have had some IPL experience, consistent IPL experience. Let's just recap who we had at 15 to 8.
Number 8, yeah. So at 15 we had Hardik Pandya. At 14 we had Mr. Cricket Mike Hussey. At 13 we had Yusuf Pathan. At 12 we had Sean Marsh. At 11 we had Rohit Hitman Sharma. At 10, we had the Chinnathala Suresh Raina. At 9, we had Kieron Pollard. And at 8, we had Shane Watson, which I think is a pretty impressive list of batsmen. And moving on, let's move on to number 7. I think you already mentioned that player.
Sorry, just before we start, I know YouTube has a big community of Rohit Sharma fans who will get a lot of hate from, but you need to be objective and you have to blank out all his other stats, all his other international ability, and just purely look at IPL. Yeah. And that's why we have him at number 11. And for all the details and the debates, check out our previous episode.
Forget the double hundreds he scored. Forget the 500s he scored in the World Cup. We are just talking about the IPL. Yeah. And we're not taking into account captaincy.
Yeah.
We're not taking into account, what he's done off the field, on the field, all of that. No, we're just talking about pure IPL batting.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate that, most of the times that Mumbai Indians has won the title, Rohit Sharma actually hasn't done much with the bat.
Yeah.
I don't think he's ever had a season where he's been the top run scorer in the IPL.
No, he hasn't.
Which is a shame.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Which is something you would expect for someone of his caliber.
I agree.
Yeah. So anyways, let's move to number 7.
Yeah. You already mentioned the player. If our audience would have watched our previous episode, I basically had him much lower in the list, and Zahid had him much higher. But I think he number 7, entry level to the top batsman, he deserves to be there. KL Rahul.
No, not at number 7, man. Not at number 7.
So then who?
I have Andre Russell number 7.
Okay, Russell. Yeah, fair enough.
The greatest, the best strike rate in the history of IPL.
So do you think that do you believe that KL Rahul has had more impact than Andre Russell on the IPL or for his teams or for the games that he's won? In my opinion, no. In my opinion, Andre Russell has changed the face of death over hitting. He's the guy who's been able to chase 50 runs in 3 overs. That was impossible. And last year he chased it. He did that 2 or 3 times.
Yeah. No, I would agree with that. I think maybe it's a bit of recent bias which is creeping in for KL Rahul. But I think KL Rahul in a way there are 2 things. One is the way he's evolved in the T20 game, and slightly it's got to do with the fact that his ability as a batsman has he's just shown a new dimension to his game. You wouldn't have expected 3-4 years ago KL Rahul to be the man who he is today, right?
I'll correct you. Actually, 3-4 years ago is when we actually saw a transformation in KL Rahul.
Exactly. Yeah.
This was when he played for RCB. When he
Yeah.
was playing for RCB, he was batting 4-5. He was batting in the middle order, and something clicked in his game, and then he just
Exactly.
went on. He went on to strike the ball incredibly well, and he pushed up his strike rate to, I think that season might have been 145, 150.
Yeah.
And then after that, he's kind of developed his game further, where he started opening the batting regularly, and he's become more consistent. So
Yeah.
like every season you can expect 400, 500 runs from him. And
Exactly. Yeah.
you can expect hundreds. But again, in my opinion, like you say, most of the times I remember KL Rahul has had
Yeah.
scored a 50 or 100. I don't remember Kings 11 winning.
That is a problem. That's a problem. They have.
Andre Russell, Andre
Yeah.
Russell comes in. I mean, every time he scores runs, there's a very good chance of KKR winning the game because he
But
scores them so quickly.
to be fair to KL Rahul, I mean, he scored 100 this year, and they beat RCB. Was it? Yeah.
Yeah,
So
well, after that, he scored a 60 of 50 deliveries, and then they
yeah.
lost.
No, I mean his overall stats are phenomenal. 44 average, 142 strike rate. In terms of stats, he's the best Indian batsman in the IPL.
Agreed.
Um,
And I think
but
if audiences would have seen one of our previous episodes, where I think we've billed him as the best IPL batsman going around currently. I
yeah,
completely agree with all of that. But just in terms of impact between Russell and Rahul,
yeah,
I'm going to say Russell has a better impact. So we can go Rahul 7 and Russell 6.
yeah. Okay, fair enough. I think you remember those games that Russell won, especially last year, that he won for
The
KKR, and
hitting,
yeah, and of course, I think it's also the consistency, not just his like runs, but he's averaged over 160, 170 like every year in the past 5 years that he's played. I think he missed one season,
yeah,
but apart from that, when he's properly played in the IPL, when he's played 10 or more games, he's always averaged strike rate is always above 160, 170.
yeah,
So that is pretty phenomenal.
yeah.
So for that, yeah, I mean, again, you have to look at the impact, pure class and runs and all of that. I would put KL Rahul way ahead.
Technique,
Yeah,
looking good while playing his shots, scoring the big runs, looking $1 million, all of that, KL Rahul is ahead. But Russell, man,
yeah,
I've met him at Heathrow Airport, back from a holiday, and I
yeah,
think he was just entering the UK to play the World
yeah,
Cup last year. And yeah, I got a nice picture with him, so that was a big dream come true for me. There was O'Shane Thomas as well along with him, but I didn't really bother. At that time, I didn't know who Shane Thomas was. Yeah, I knew about him, but
yeah.
I didn't really pay much attention to him. But yeah,
I mean, it's fine
Russell,
to when you have Andrew Russell, it's fine to ignore anybody else, I guess. Um,
exactly.
yeah, I can't argue much to be honest. I mean, Russell, I had him in my list, I slightly higher.
Yeah,
Oh, sorry, I had him at 7, but yeah, I'm happy to go with him at 6 and
6.
KL Rahul to 7, who I
Cool.
had slightly higher, but I think the points you make sense.
Yeah.
And then does that mean we are into our top 5?
Yes.
The top 5 best IPL batsmen in the
Yes.
history.
I think.
Um,
Well, let me just say this: that we probably have the same players in the top 5 now.
yes,
It's just
I'm
about
pretty
what
sure.
ranks they come in at.
Yes, it is.
Fine.
It is.
So let's start. Number 5.
Uh, I have someone who I would have loved to have am at number 1, but it's Virat Kohli number 5.
Really?
Yes,
Okay.
and I'll tell you why. Of course, he had that fantastic season 2016, which everyone talks about. You can't ignore the fact that his team has been so poor, and you can say that's his captaincy. You can say, he as a batsman has done all he can every year. I just don't see how I can have him above the other players that I have, because they've won IPLs, they've had impacts, to their team winning, and you can
Yeah,
remember
yeah, of
big innings
course.
from them.
Yeah, I
Whereas
mean,
Kohli, he has only had one phenomenal season, and then apart from that, like 2 or 3 decent seasons, right?
I don't know. I just disagree with that. I Fine. The not winning bit is
Yeah,
for different reasons. It's not necessarily to do with Virat Kohli not having an
yeah,
impact on RCB, right? It, it's
yeah,
it's it's not to do with that. There are other reasons why RCB has never won the IPL yet, and Virat Kohli's captaincy is a big part of that, in my opinion. But we're keeping that aside.
yeah,
Just in terms of pure batsmanship, right?
yeah,
I mean, you can't argue. He's not like a De Villiers or a Gale.
Yeah.
right? He's not in that category. He doesn't play the kind of shots that
Yeah.
De Villiers plays all over the ground. He
Yeah.
doesn't have the six hitting ability of Chris Gayle,
Yeah.
right? From a pure batting perspective, Virat Kohli, he's shown people that players like him and Kane Williamson can actually play T20 cricket. They play
Yeah.
orthodox cricket.
No, I agree. That part I agree with. But then the same argument that you had for KL Rahul, who actually
Yeah,
I had slightly higher in the list.
yeah.
You have for
But
Kohli as well, right?
yeah, no, but what I'm saying is Kohli is performed for longer than KL Rahul has. So that there's a difference there. With Kohli, you've got longevity, you've got consistency, you've got high strike rate, you've got big scores, you've literally got he's a statistician's dream. Every
Okay.
single metric that you can pick, he's right up there.
Okay.
So
Well, the only other player that I'm willing to compromise and move Kohli up, and I'm a Kohli fan, so I wouldn't mind moving him up on that list. Um, is MS Dhoni.
I was going to say, I mean, I don't know why you're rating Warner so highly. So can you explain that to me?
Warner
Because
has 3 orange caps. He's won
I
the
agree.
IPL. So
Yeah,
you have to look at that long. You have to look at the
fair
impact he's had. I
enough.
mean, there's no
Okay,
one
so
in the
then
history of the IPL who's got more orange caps than him.
fair enough. So then let's go. Then I'm okay with Dhoni at 5 and Warner at 4.
Dhoni at 5 and Kohli at 4.
Fine, fair enough. I mean, just to your point, yes, David Warner, even in the season that Kohli had, Kohli had done, Kohli had scored the 800 runs that he did.
Yeah,
Warner had scored 600 runs in that season.
exactly. Yeah, so he
So
probably would have
fine.
won the orange cap that year if Kohli hadn't been.
Yeah. So fine. So are we going? We're going Dhoni at
Yeah.
5, and then
Well,
Kohli at
at
4,
4. So the way
and that
we've
automatically that
the way
automatic.
sorry the way we've gotten into it, we just didn't have much time to discuss Dhoni. But I
Well,
mean, again,
it's a no-brainer.
recent bias will creep into it that he's obviously has this style of playing, but I mean, the amount of games he's won and his style of taking it to the end and
Yeah.
scoring 24 in the last over to win it, 26, 30. I mean, was it?
No matter the bowler, right? He's hammered Akshar Patel and
Yeah,
he's hammered Dale Steyn.
yeah,
So
exactly.
you've got a big range of bowlers there and bowlers in between as well. But the best in the world and an average bowler, right? You've got a range there, and he's taken them to the cleaners.
So yeah, pure finishing ability. That's why I mean, I would have argued I had Kohli at 5 and Dhoni at 4, um, because Dhoni has won so many games.
Fair enough. I'm
But
I'm happy to I'm happy to change that. I'm happy to go Kohli at 5,
yeah,
Dhoni at 4, and then obviously it has to be Warner
yeah.
at 3. Then there's no doubt
I'll,
about Warner being 3. Like, I mean, the only two players that we have. Come
I
on,
think we
man.
all know who
I
those
would.
two players are, but
We know who those two players are. It's about the ranking and where they fit in, but they have to be top two.
well, out of those three, there's one who's never won the IPL, and I'm sure that I'm assuming you're going to have him in your top two. But
Well, both have never won the IPL, but that's immaterial.
yeah, fine. Again, his strike rate is slightly lower than the other two that we have, so I will let it go.
I
The
mean,
averages are very similar. Fine. David Warner at
just
3.
just just think about, just for a second, close your eyes and think about the IPL. Who are the players that you think about, the best IPL players,
Yeah. Okay. If
and
you
the names that will pop into your head. The two that we're going to talk
yeah,
about now, they will be right up there, above
right.
above Warner. So I think it's only fair
But
that
3 orange caps. You were talking about Rohit Sharma and his 3 double hundreds, which makes him the best ODI or like second best ODI batsman.
but to be fair, right? So on that point, right, if we go back to Virat Kohli, for example, you
Yeah.
could argue that, okay, fine, Virat Kohli has scored so many runs,
Yeah.
right? That means that the lower and middle order doesn't get to bat as much, but that is not the case for RCB. For RCB, the lower and middle order has always batted, but they never had a chance. With Warner, it's the other way around. I mean, he just bats and bats and bats, which is why
Yeah.
Sunrisers have always had an issue with the middle order and the lower order. So it's not like, okay,
You
fine,
can't blame him for just
no, no, I'm
scoring
not,
so many
I'm
runs.
not, I'm not blaming him. I'm just saying, yes, he's had 3 orange caps, right?
Yeah.
It's because he plays. It's because he plays the majority of the deliveries.
Yeah.
Right?
True.
He's
That's
always
true.
consistency top notch, strike rate top notch, impact top notch. So that's why. he's third. That's why he's above Kohli. That's why he's above Dhoni, right?
Okay.
I don't think he can be above these two stalwarts that we'll talk about now,
Okay.
who've been involved in the IPL right from the beginning.
Okay.
Strike rate, consistency, six hitting, inventiveness,
Okay.
different matchups, different
Yeah.
techniques, different what do you call it, trends. They've changed the game. They've changed the T20 game
No,
through their match.
okay. Okay, fine. So I'll give up Warner at three.
Cool.
So that's
So
fine.
before we go on to the top two, just to recap the players that we've got so far, from number seven. So number seven we've got KL Rahul.
Yeah.
Number six we've got Andre Russell.
Yeah.
Number five we've got Mr. Consistent Virat Kohli. Number four
Yeah.
we've got the Thala of CSK MS Dhoni, and number three we've got the record orange cap holder from the IPL David Warner. Right?
Number three for his three orange caps.
Yes, number three for its three orange caps. And then we come to number one and two. I think we've talked a lot about these players already. Let's just, give the names and then we
Yeah.
can discuss who is above the other. Right. So no
Yeah.
doubt it has to be AB de Villiers and Chris Gayle.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
And just to remind our viewers, we've actually got three RCB players in the top five
Five. Yeah.
batsmen, and it is so surprising that they have never won the
Although the Gale I have probably is the Gale for KKR, the one I remember.
IPL.
I think he won the orange cap in 2011, was it?
It was in 2011, and
Yeah.
that too when he came on as a replacement player
Yeah.
for RCB, right? So just imagine he didn't even play all 14, 15 games. He probably played like 10 games, and he was the highest run scorer. So, like, I mean, come on, Chris Gayle and AB de Villiers, there's no doubt about it.
Yeah. I agree with that. The question is, who do you put at one and who do you put at two?
Okay.
Um,
So, do you want me to go first or do you want to
you
go
go
first?
for it. Go for it.
Go for it, right? So, most people will think Chris Gayle has to be number one, but in my mind, De Villiers, man, that guy is just a different class, just a different class. Even when he played international cricket, right?
Yeah.
When he came into the IPL, his batting was at a different level.
Yeah.
I mean, I just love watching him bat all around the park. His scoops, his late cuts, his driving, his pulling, his six hitting, four hitting, his strike rate, average, everything, every single thing with AB de Villiers is top notch in the IPL. And it's not that he's done it this year or last year
Yeah.
or the year before or the year before that. He's freaking been doing it for 10 years, 12 years since the IPL has started,
Yeah,
right?
that's true. And you just think he's finished now and that's it. And he comes back, and again this year he's had 250s already.
Look at the
Um,
batting. Just look at his batting even when he's like 36.
I'll tell you the moment where I guess he kind of came to the fore was when Dale Steyn was at his peak,
Yes.
and he was labeled as the stain remover at the time where he lapped him and swept him for sixes.
Yeah.
Um,
He scored what 23 or 24 runs
yeah,
in that over of Stain. So, that for me is enough to put him at number one.
yeah. Um, Again, yeah, spoiler. Well, no more spoilers anymore. But as you would have guessed from my list that I went through, I had David Warner at number one, actually, for reasons I mentioned. But anyways, I'm over that now. The one player when we were preparing for this list, the one player whose stats I didn't even look at or research was actually AB de Villiers,
Yeah.
because I just know he's been so consistent, and he was in my top two or top three without even looking at his stats. Chris Gayle I had to consider because I was unsure about how he's done in the recent years. Although he's been pretty decent, even last year was pretty good.
He
Uh,
played a couple of games and he scored a
yeah,
freaking 100 as well. So,
exactly right.
but
So
given his age, right, that's what you need. I'd be
yeah,
surprised if Kings 11 this year, the way their IPL is going, if they
yeah,
don't decide to bring him in over someone like Glenn Maxwell, and
yeah,
get him open, even if that means moving Mayank Agarwal to number three,
yeah,
right? Just for that impact. If he comes in again, he was a master, right? He was a master. He's a master technician. People think Chris Gayle is a laid back person,
yeah.
but there is actually a method to his madness. He
Agree. I
knows,
agree.
he was one of the first few people that thought, right, T20 is not about, scoring runs, it's about hitting sixes.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
that kind of trend has managed to keep West Indies afloat. They're the only team to win two T20s.
Yeah.
You
Six
know, two
most hundreds
T20
in the
World
IPL
Cups.
as well. I think most hundreds in IPL, six.
Yes, yes. Highest
Um,
score in the IPL.
highest score in the IPL, fastest 100 also, is it? Or
Fastest 100, yes. I think that's him as well.
I mean, if you just look at pure records and impact, then that's a strong argument for number one.
Yeah.
Obviously,
I
the
mean,
175 everyone remembers.
yeah,
Probably the greatest single innings in the history of the IPL.
agreed.
Um, Phenomenal.
Yeah.
So, I mean, my only concern for AB de Villiers, and the only negative point is that he's never won the IPL. So to have someone
But
who's never won the IPL at number one,
well, we've got three players in the top five who haven't won the IPL, and I think most people would would think, okay, fine, those three players, Gale, De Villiers, and Kohli, will at least be in the top five, and
yeah,
that's just the way it is. It's very unfortunate for RCB that in spite of having these kinds of
yeah.
players, they've missed out. So
I think
yeah,
that'll be clear when we do our
surprising.
bowlers list. But
Yeah. I don't see any RCB bowler being in like the top. Actually, I lie. There might be one.
yeah,
There
in
might be
recent
one
times.
in recent times, but yeah.
But okay. So let's wrap it up and go with what Gale 2 and AB 1.
Yeah.
Okay,
So just to let recap for our viewers, I'll go this time. We'll go from
15.
we'll go from 1 to 15,
Yeah,
right? So at number 1 we've got Mr. 360 AB de Villiers. At number 2 we've got Chris Gale. Number 3 we've got David Warner. Number 4 is MS Dhoni. Number 5 is Virat Kohli. Number 6 is Andre Russell. Number 7 is KL Rahul. Number 8 is Shane Watson. Number 9, Kieron Pollard. Number 10, Suresh Raina. Number 11, Rohit Sharma. Number 12, Sean Marsh. Number 13 is Yusuf Pathan. Number 14 is Mike Hussey. And number 15 is Hardik Pandya. I'd just like to give a few names. Honorable mentions.
honorable mentions.
Honorable mentions to players who were brilliant in the IPL, but unfortunately weren't able to find a place in this list. So someone like a David Warner, David Miller.
You don't
David
like David
Miller.
Warner.
David Miller is what I wanted to say. David
If it was
Miller.
up to you, David Warner would not have been in this list as well.
No, no,
So.
no, no. He would be. He would be, and it's probably fair that he's in the top five, which is fine.
Top
So yeah,
three is fine.
David Miller, JP Duminy,
JP Duminy.
who has phenomenal stats in the IPL. He's averaging 40, which is
Yeah.
incredible. Um,
Sachin Tendulkar.
Sachin Tendulkar, again, incredible average. Steve Smith
Yeah.
has a pretty good record. Rishabh
Virender,
Pant, who we debated for a bit, but misses out. He'd probably be number 16.
Virender Sehwag.
Virendra Sehwag as well.
Joss Butler.
Joss Butler, correct. Um, you know, uh,
Sanju Samson.
Sanju Samson. I mean, we've seen what's happened. He's played
Yeah.
4 games, 2 games in Sharjah.
Yeah.
Small ground. He's gone ballistic. The next 2 games, 4 of 3 and 8 of 9. So, you have to be a bit of an all-round player.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think 2 guys from KKR, Robin Uthappa and Gautam Gambhir, were also pretty good batsmen. They had a very good impact. Manish Pandey was another good one.
Manish Pandey.
The first Indian to score 100 in the IPL. So
I'm actually
that's
surprised at how not very good his overall stats are.
yeah.
I expected him to be, high 30s or 40 average, but I think it's just a consistency point why he's missed out.
He's been very mediocre in between.
Yeah.
He's had seasons where he's been fantastic, but
Yeah.
then in between he's been very mediocre. So that's why. And I think those were some honorable mentions that unfortunately didn't find
Kevin Peterson.
any place. Kevin Peterson was a good one. I didn't look at Peterson at all. Again, for reasons
Shikhar Dhawan.
Shikhar Dhawan again, he's been really good as well in the IPL, but not a good strike rate. Yuvraj Singh, I think Yuvraj Singh and Kevin Peterson were the 2 batsmen that were that were the most unfulfilling talents in the IPL.
True,
That's my
expected
opinion.
a lot more for them. I agree.
Yeah.
And Adam Gilchrist to a certain extent also. I think.
And Gilchrist at least had a great impact.
Yeah.
He got the Deccan Chargers to win the IPL.
Yeah.
Right. He bowled as well, so I'd say he had a pretty good impact there. So yeah.
Yeah.
Some very big names to miss out, but That's the nature when when you're ranking players.
Yeah. No,
You know, we want everything in a player. So that's why we went with these 15.
yeah. And let us know in the comments who you would kick out if you wanted to include any of these players. That is the big question, right? Because you can say, oh, Tendulkar needs to be on this list or Sehwag needs to be on this list, but
Who
who
are you
of these
going to
players would you
drop?
actually remove?
Exactly. Who are you going to
And
drop?
at the end of the day, that's the big debate.
Yeah. Cool. So that was our list of the top 15 batsmen for the IPL of all time. Stay tuned. We'll bring you more and more IPL news as the tournament progresses. As always, please like, share, and subscribe to Silly Point. And have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you.